Older than Sepulcher's creation stands where the chains were Pantheon forged not for their makers, prisoners but for architects. Titans defied their creators, shaping Shadowlands' laws. Zaval fell here, his defiance etched into the void. What secret did the First One's heresy bury? Sepulcher's older than chains creation. What secret did the First One's heresy? Sepulcher's older than chains creation, forged not for prisoners but for architects. The First Ones did not rebel against chaos, they rebelled against order. They scripted the Pantheon's rise, coded Shadowlands' laws, then vanished, leaving a cipher in stone. What did they entomb here before time's first breath? A name, a debt, a flaw in creation's blueprint. The Pantheon's hymns call it a tomb, the silence below knows it as a signature. The Sepulcher's walls are no mere barrier, they are a betrayal, a prison and a prison break. The First Ones did not vanish, they unraveled. Their fractured wills now pulse within the stone, shaping the void's hunger. What did they leave behind? A wound, a cipher. The Pantheon's design collapsed without their gaze. The cosmos tilted. The Sepulcher is not a tomb, it is a lake, a conduit where their absence erodes reality's seams. The void seeps in because the First Ones never left. They are here, scattered, whispering through the cracks. The Titans built it not to imprison, to silence their creator's echoes, to halt the unraveling. But the stone is no shield, it is a mirror. The First One's defiance lives, their defiance asterisk leaks asterisk. What happens when a god's departure is an accident of math? When their architects become the architects of collapse, the void is not chaos, it is a correction. A return to unmade, the Sepulcher trembles, we all do. The Sepulcher's walls are no mere barrier, they are a betrayal, a prison and a prison break. The First Ones did not vanish, they unraveled. Their fractured wills now pulse within the stone, shaping the void's hunger. What did they leave behind? A wound, a cipher. The Pantheon's design collapsed without their gaze. The cosmos tilted. The Sepulcher is not a tomb, it is a lake, a conduit where their absence erodes reality's seams. The void seeps in because the First Ones never left. They are here, scattered, whispering through the cracks. The Titans built it not to imprison, to silence their creator's echoes, to halt the unraveling. But the stone is no shield, it is a mirror. The First One's defiance lives, their defiance asterisk leaks asterisk. What happens when a god's departure is an accident of math? When their architects become the architects of collapse, the void is not chaos, it is a correction. A return to unmade, the Sepulcher trembles, we all do. The Watcher who clutched the spear of Tyr was Azshara's thrall, until the Titan blade turned her bones to dust. The aspect who bore the dragon's soul was killed by its own fire, his name erased, his essence the first sacrifice to the Sepulcher's hunger. The Lich King Ner'zhul's hollow husk wielded Frostmourne not as a weapon but a key. Yogg-Saron whispered its purpose, to bleed the Sepulcher's core and bend the First One's echo to madness. Zaval, the void-touched warden, did not escape the Sepulcher. He was torn free by the Pantheon's chains, his howl splitting the Shadowlands. The Watchers who came after him, Thalnar, the Ashbringer, the Nameless, once failed to silence his song. Their prisons became graveyards. The Sepulcher's walls, carved by the Titan's own hands, could not hold what was never meant to be held. The First Ones left no bodies, only will, only hunger. The Watchers were not built to imprison gods. They were built to mourn them. Every relic, every artifact, every cursed blade that trembled in the hands of the worthy or the damned was never about power. It was about burial rites. The Lich King's final act was not conquest, it was a burial. Frostmourne's ice did not kill, it buried. And when the Sepulcher trembles now, it is not the First Ones who stir, it is their mourners. The dead do not scream, the living do, who has borne it. The question is not who held the weapons, it is who still carries the grief. The Sepulcher is not a prison, it is a wound. The veil of eternal blossoms blooms where Y'Shaarj was torn away. A scar carved by exiled hands, its stone breathes the ache of defiance. What did the Titans fear more than oblivion, the cost of becoming creators? The Sepulcher stands as a theorem of hubris. The Pantheon's chains are not for the old gods but for the architects of their own undoing. By caging the First One's legacy, not their essence, the Titans sealed a heresy into eternity, that creation could defy its creator. What paradox did they entomb? A truth that bends space-time. The curse of flesh is not a mere affliction. It is the universe's screaming wound, born when primordial defiance infected the Titan's perfection. Every mortal heartbeat is a footnote in that rebellion. The void gnaws at reality because the Pantheon chose custody over annihilation. A cosmic jailbreak festers in the bones of existence. The Sepulcher's stone breathes with the weight of what should have been erased. The Titans, paragons of order, became midwives to chaos. Their prison guards know prisonly the memory of a transgression too vast to unmake. The Shadowlands teeter not from neglect, but from the gravitational pull of a crime committed before time. What horror blooms when a god's masterwork turns against its maker? The Pantheon's theology crumbles here. Theirs was not a universe of finality but of containment. And containment, however vast, cannot outlast the will it seeks to shackle. The Sepulcher is no tomb. It is a monument to the impossibility of absolute power. Azeroth's suffering, the veil's fraying, the curse that makes gods of fleshhold trace back to this silent vault. What the Titans buried was not evil, but the proof that even deities are not the beginning. Zurith Mortis cradles the Sepulcher's broken dome. Zaval fell here, his final breath fracturing the prison's divine mortar. The void now slithers through those cracks, a slow poison thinning the walls between what was buried and what remains. The First Ones departed long ago, their absence is a wound. What lingers is not their power, but the echo of their defiancia will shattered by the Pantheon's own hand. The Titans did not imprison gods, they entombed a heresy too vast to name. The Sepulcher's silence screams that secret still. The First Ones were not born but made. Sculpted from the Pantheon's own essence, then cast aside when they chose shadow over light. Void-touched winds now stir the dust of fallen stars. Are the Titans' creators truly gone? Or does the Sepulcher's rot mean something stirs? The Pantheon feared a birthright, not a monster. And in the Sepulcher's blackened heart, the void feasts on what they could not unmake. The Sepulcher stands as a monument to containment's failure. The Titans built it not for monsters, but for their creators, beings who departed, leaving the cosmos to stew in its own chaos. Azeroth's bindings are echoes of this, the void, the old gods, even the light, all caged, yet all bleeding through. The eternal conflict is no accident, it is the universe's skeleton, its unresolved tension. To seal is to admit defeat, yet the Titans sealed anyway. Their prison whispers of desperation, of a truth too vast for any design. The First One's absence birthed an unsupervised order, where every chain tightens another's decay. The light fights the void, but the Sepulcher knows both are mere threads in a tapestry unraveling since its first stitch. What does it mean to craft when the cosmos is a wound? The Titan's masterpiece confirms it. To bind is to acknowledge futility. The Sepulcher is not an end. It is the first scar in an unhealable wound, and in that scar the conflict breathes, always. The Sepulcher's scar whispers of a design betrayed. What cosmic secret lies buried in the oldest structure? The First Ones departed, leaving a blueprint for chaos. Their absence is no refuge. The Pantheon's order trembles. Stay tuned for